The Generals of the Yang Family, Chapter 8.
I want you to picture the ultimate, I don't mean a verbal refusal, but a physical one. You're marching an army, feeling pretty much invincible. You turn a corner in the mountains, and you're just staring at a wall that seems to be stitched directly into the clouds.
It's a really formidable image. And in the text we're looking at today, the locals don't just call it a fortress, they call it Jiashan Pass.
Which translates to what, exactly?
Connecting heaven paths. So that should give you a sense of the sheer verticality we're dealing with here. It's not just an obstacle, it's a statement.
A statement that says, go home. We're looking at the start of Chapter 8, the Generals of the Yang Family. And while this might sound like a standard military history discussion, I think it's actually more of a case study in what you could call the trap of cleverness.
That's a great way to frame it. It's really about that clash between, overthinking something and just pure brute force. We've got supernatural tips, failed diplomacy, and a strategist who might have been just a little too smart for his own good.
So let's set the board. We're following the Song Dynasty army. Leading the charge is Huyanzan. He's the vanguard. Now, for anyone who isn't a military buff, the vanguard isn't the guy planning logistics in the back tent.
No. The vanguard is the tip of the spear. Huyanzan's whole job is momentum. He smashes obstacles so the rest of the army can just walk through. And up until this point, he's been wildly successful. They just conquered Zezu. Morale is, sky high. He marches to Jiashan Pass thinking he's just going to roll right over it.
But physics gets in the way. He tries to storm the pass, and it's a disaster.
It's a meat grinder. The source text is very graphic about the logs and stones raining down. But the real problem isn't the stone wall. It's the mind behind that wall. We meet the defenders, the commander, Lu Liangfeng, and more importantly, his advisor, Wang Wen.
Wang Wen is the character I really want to focus on, because when the Song army shows up, the commander asks him, okay, how do we fight them? And Wang Wen gives advice that I think frustrates every aggressive general in history.
He says, we don't. His strategy is pure attrition. He argues that the pass is too steep to climb, too thick to breach, so just close the gates, sit down, have some tea, let the Song army starve outside in the cold.
It's the weaponization of boredom.
And it's effective. Huyanzan is completely stuck. He consults his own advisor, Li Jianzong, who basically just shrugs and says, he's right. We can't attack this. We just have to retreat a bit and wait for them to make a mistake.
So you have a stalemate. And usually in history, stalemates are broken by, a new weapon or a supply shortage. But here, the narrative takes a really sharp left turn into the supernatural.
It really does. Huyanzan is sitting in his tent fuming when this old soldier demands to see him. Now, this isn't a scout or a known officer, just a random old man who claims he knows how to break the deadlock.
Huyanzan brings him in. So what's the intel?
The old soldier confirms that Jiashan Pass is unbreakable from the front. But, he says, there is a small, rugged path behind the mountain. A back door that leads right into the North Hedong region.
A classic trope. The secret goat path.
But here's the catch. It's not unguarded. It's watched by a man named Li Taigong, or Li Rong, at this specific outpost. The old soldier tells Huyanzan, if you can go there and borrow passage, basically negotiate a right of way, you can bypass the main fort entirely.
Okay, hold on. Before we get to the plan, I need to talk about this old soldier. Huyanzan is grateful, right? He offers him a reward.
He does.
Yeah.
He offers to recommend him for a promotion to the emperor himself, a pretty standard military reward. But the old soldier just replies, I do not wish for promotion. And the text is very specific about this. He walks out of the tent and just vanishes into a clear breeze.
He turns into wind.
Pretty much. The guards see nothing. He is just gone. Huyanzan immediately realizes this wasn't a human encounter. He goes outside and literally worships the air. He's convinced this is divine intervention.
See, this is where I get skeptical. If I'm a general and a ghost gives me a hot tip, I'm wondering, is this a trap? Is this a test? But Huyanzan just takes it at face value. The gods want me to win.
It's total confirmation bias. He wants a solution so badly that he accepts the supernatural origin as proof it'll work. But as we're about to see, just because the gods show you the door doesn't mean they unlocked it for you.
So acting on this divine intel, Huyanzan sends a general named Liu Xiongyu with 5,000 soldiers to find this path. And the instruction is clear. Be diplomatic.
Which is a fascinating pivot for an invading army, right? They arrive at Li Taigong's outpost. Now, Li Taigong is a savvy veteran. He has two warrior sons, Li Xin and Li Ji. He knows the Song army is stuck at the main pass. So when the messenger shows up and says, hey, can we borrow your road? The emperor will reward you. Li Taigong isn't flattered. He's insulted.
And he uses this really visceral analogy to explain why.
He does. He calls his location the throat of the entire region. He explains that his little outpost and the main Jishin Pass are like an ecosystem. They rely on each other. And he tells the messenger that letting the Song army through would be like cutting off one's own flesh to feed another.
That is a heavy concept. It's not just, I don't like you, it's helping you is suicide for me.
Exactly. He knows that if he lets them bypass the main fort falls. If the main fort falls, he's isolated and dies next. It's just basic strategic theory. He laps the messenger out of the room.
So the diplomatic mission is a total bust. The messenger goes back to General Liu Xianxia and says, he said no and he laughed at us. Now Liu Xianxia has 5,000 men. He has what he thinks is a divine mandate. How does he react?
Poorly. So poorly. He completely abandons the borrowing strategy and shifts instantly to aggression. He challenges the fort to battle, but he makes a fatal error here. He assumes that because he has 5,000 men, he's the predator.
But he's in a narrow mountain pass. Numbers don't count for much if only, 3 guys can fight at a time?
Precisely. Li Taigong's son, Li Xin, charges down from the high ground with only 500 elite soldiers. It's a textbook ambush, a drum sounds, the gate flies open, and they just crash into the Song lines before they can even form up.
And Li Xianxia.
He's caught completely flat-footed. He tries to retreat, but Li Xin is on him instantly. Liu Xianxia is stabbed to death right there in front of the pass. The 5,000 Song soldiers are completely routed.
I just want to pause here. This is the result of the so-called divine intervention, a dead general and a routed army. If I'm Huyan Zan, I'm starting to think that spirit was actually working for the other side.
It's certainly ambiguous. The spirit provided the opportunity, if the path exists, but it never promised it would be easy. It really brings up a great question about luck in warfare. Is a shortcut really a blessing if it just leads you straight into a meat grinder?
So now Huyan Zan has a full-blown crisis. The element of surprise is gone. Li Taigong knows they're trying to flank him. The stalemate at the main pass is still there. This feels like the low point of the entire campaign.
It is. He's panicking. He's worried that the main fortress and this outpost will now combine forces and squeeze him to death. So he goes back to his advisor, Li Jianzong, for a new plan.
And this time, they don't ask the wind for help. They come up with a real tactical solution.
Right. Li Jianzong proposes a classic divide-and-conquer strategy. He realizes they can't fight both positions passively. They need to force the enemy to make a mistake. So the plan is, send General Gao Huaid to attack the front of Jishin Pass, the main fort, loudly and aggressively.
But wait, we just established that attacking the front is suicide.
It is if you actually intend to win. But Gao Huaid's job isn't to win, it's to be a distraction. It's all theater. He just needs to make enough noise to keep the main defenders pinned to their walls, terrified that this massive assault is coming.
Okay, so while the main defenders are looking forward,
Huyan takes the main bulk of the army and swings back around to Li Taigong's outpost. He's going to try the back door again, but this time, he's not asking to borrow the road, he's coming to kick the door down.
and this triggers a fascinating chain reaction. Li Taigong sees this massive army coming. He knows he can't hold them off alone this time. So he sends an SOS to the main fort.
And this is where the trap of cleverness really begins. The message reaches Wang Wen, remember, the smart strategist at the main fort. He reads the situation perfectly. He knows the attack on his front is probably a diversion, or at least his commander can handle it. But if the outpost falls,
He gets cut off.
he gets completely encircled, he analyzes the board, and decides the biggest threat is actually at the back. So he makes a bold move. He leaves the safety of his impenetrable fortress. He takes 3,000 elite troops and rides out to reinforce Li Taigong.
That feels like the moment in a horror movie where you scream at the screen, "Don't go outside." He leaves the castle.
It's a calculated risk. He believes that if he joins forces with Li Taigong, they can crush Huyanzan in the open field. He gets to the outpost and they work out a battle plan. Wang Wen says the terrain here is flat. Flat ground favors speed. He proposes that Li Taigong holds the fort while he, Wang Wen, and the warrior son Li Xin go out to meet Huyanzan head-on.
Wait, Wang Wen is going to fight? He's the advisor. He's the brain. Huyanzan is the vanguard. He's all brawn. Why would Wang Wen ever want to meet Huyanzan in an open field? That seems like a terrible mismatch.
It looks like arrogance, doesn't it? But Wang Wen isn't planning a fair fight. He's planning a trap. He is betting everything on Huyanzon's psychology.
Okay, let's get to the showdown. The armies line up. On one side, Huyanzan, probably still absolutely furious about his dead general. On the other, the strategist Wang Wen and the warrior legion.
And we have to mention the equipment. The text specifically notes Wang Wen is wielding a square heaven halberd, a Feng Tianji.
Why is that detail important?
In Chinese literature, that weapon is iconic. It's the weapon of Lu Bu from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. So it symbolizes supreme martial skill, but also a certain kind of flashy arrogance. By using it, Wang Wen is projecting this image of a warrior scholar. He's signaling that he can beat you with his mind and his arm.
So the fight starts. The trash talk is exchanged. Huyanzan yells, "Defeated general, are you here to die?" And Wang Wen retorts, "I'm going to make sure you never go home." And they clash.
They fight for a few rounds, spears clashing against the halberd, but then Wang Wen pulls the move he'd planned all along. He turns his horse and flees.
The feint, the oldest trick in the book.
It is. He pretends to be defeated. Now, here's the nuance the text gives us. Huyanzan knows Wang Wen is a strategist. He knows this man is capable of deception. Intellectually, Huyanzan should look at this and say, that's a trap. Do not pursue.
But he doesn't.
No, because Huyanzan isn't operating on intellect right now. He is operating purely on rage. He wants to capture this man so badly that he just ignores all the tactical warning signs. He chases him.
And the trap springs.
A cannon fires. Legion charges from the flank with his troops. They circle around to cut off Huyanzan's retreat. Huyanzan is, for all intents and purposes, surrounded.
So this is the moment Wang Wen designed. He lured the enemy vanguard into a pocket. He has him outnumbered and surrounded. Checkmate.
In a strategy game, yes, this is checkmate. But real war has friction. Wang Wen's plan relied on Huyanzan reacting like a normal person, panicking, hesitating, or maybe trying to defend his rear.
But Huyanzan is a vanguard.
Yeah.
Panic isn't in the manual.
Exactly. When Huyanzan sees he's surrounded, his response is fascinating. The text says his rage was aroused. He doesn't slow down. He doesn't even look at the flankers. He speeds up. He drives his horse straight at Wang Wen.
He gets tunnel vision on the guy who tricked him.
And Wang Wen is caught completely off guard. He thought he was safe behind his own trap. Suddenly, this berserker is right on top of him. Huyanzan swings his spear, smashes Wang Wen, and knocks him clean off his horse.
And the capture.
The Song soldiers just swarm in and tie Wang Wen up. And here's why the trap of cleverness fails. The moment the mastermind is captured, the entire trap just falls apart. Li Xin, the son who is supposed to be closing the net, sees the strategist go down.
And he loses his nerve.
Completely. The text says his gallbladder trembled. He abandons the attack and just flees back into the fort.
The Song army is advancing, and General Huyanzan has just captured Wang Wen.
Right.
Now, in most action movies, this is the scene where the hero executes the villain to send a message.
Or throws him in a dungeon to rot.
Exactly. But Huyanzan, he just flips the script immediately.
He does something incredibly disarming. He walks out of his tent, unties Wang Wen's bonds with his own hands, and treats him like a distinguished guest. He invites him to sit down.
Which has to be so psychologically jarring for Wang Wen. He's expecting a sword, and he gets a seat at the table. He actually asks, why are you treating me like this? My life is in your hands.
And Huyanzan's answer is just, it's fascinating. It's pure psychological warfare, but it's dressed up as career advice.
Ah, career advice.
Seriously. He doesn't threaten torture. He appeals to Wang Wen's professional pride. He basically says, look, we're from the same region. I'm serving the Song because they're winners. But then he hits him with this line that I just love. He says, why would a man of your talent and bravery bend his knees in the thorns and throw pearls into the dark?
Throw pearls into the dark.
Wow.
That is such a vivid image. It's not saying you're a bad person for fighting us. It's saying you are valuable and you are wasting that value.
Precisely. He's reframing what loyalty is. In this context, loyalty isn't a moral absolute. It's an investment strategy.
Right.
He tells Wang Wen that sticking with the Northern Han is a dead end. It leads to oblivion. But joining the Song, that's how you build a thunderous name for future generations. He's offering him a legacy.
And clearly, Wang Wen is a pragmatist. He does not hesitate for long. He responds with a quote that feels like it belongs on a sticky note in a modern boardroom.
It really does.
Good birds choose the tree to roost in.
Oh.
Wise ministers choose the master to serve.
And that phrase is the key to understanding this entire era. You have to remember, this is a volatile time. Loyalty was fluid. It was transactional.
Totally.
When survival and ambition aligned, allegiance could shift in a heartbeat. Wang Wen realizes his current tree, the Northern Han, is rotten. It's falling over.
So he decides to find a new tree.
And pledges allegiance to the song right there in the tent.
But he doesn't just say, okay, I quit, I'm with you guys now. He immediately proves his worth. He's like, okay, new boss, here's exactly how we dismantle my old boss.
He becomes an immediate asset. The Song army is currently stuck at Jieshim-Guan. It's a fortress, high walls, heavily defended. I mean, a frontal assault would be a meat grinder.
So the new hire, Wang Wen, he proposes a trick. It's classic deception. He says, look, if I show up at the gates, they'll let me in.
It's the Trojan horse strategy, but the horse is a person.
Right.
He is weaponizing his own identity and his prior relationships. But what's so interesting is that the Song general, Hu Yanzan, he doesn't just rely on Wang Wen's acting skills.
No.
He orchestrates a whole visual backdrop to sell the lie.
Right. This is the detail that stood out to me. Hu Yanzan sends troops to attack the pass to create a diversion. But the text specifies he uses frail soldiers.
The B team.
He sends the B team.
And it's a brilliant psychological ploy. I mean, think about it from the defender's perspective. If Hu Yanzan sent his elite shock troops, the defenders would be on high alert.
Oh, yeah, lockdown.
They'd lock everything down, adrenaline would be high. But by sending soldiers who look weak or disorganized or hesitant, he lures the defenders into complacency. He wants the enemy commander, Lu Liangfang, to look down from the wall and think, this is pathetic, the Song army is desperate, we've got this.
So set the scene for us. It's the second watch of the night. It's dark. You have these frail soldiers making noise, cannons firing, torches flickering. It just looks like a messy, failed skirmish.
And in the middle of all this orchestrated confusion, Wang Wen appears at the northeast corner of the pass. He starts shouting up at the walls, essentially screaming, hey, the Song army is falling apart. Open the gates so we can counterattack and crush them.
And Lu Liangfang, the defender, he buys it. Hook, line, and sinker.
Completely.
He hears the voice of a fellow general, someone he trusts, and he sees what looks like a weak enemy force. It confirms his bias.
That confirmation bias is fatal. He opens the gates to let his friend in, and the moment those heavy doors creak open, the trap springs. Those frail soldiers were likely a screen for the elite troops hiding just behind them. Hu Yanzan charges.
And Wang Wen, he turns on his old comrades instantly.
Instantly. He attacks from the inside. The text is brutal here. Hu Yanzan spots Lu Liangfang, the commander who was just trying to let his friend in, and puts a spear through him.
Oof. Talk about a harsh lesson in trust during wartime. You open the door for a friend, and the enemy walks in.
And with the commander dead and the gates compromised, a second Song general, Li Jinzang, rushes in with an ambush force. The defense just collapses. The remaining soldiers surrender.
So Jian-Guan falls.
Not because the walls were weak, but because the mind of the commander was exploited.
And this victory, it seems to trigger a massive domino effect. I mean, taking a pass named Connecting Heaven sends a pretty loud signal to everyone else in the region.
Momentum is a terrifying force in warfare. When an impregnable pass falls that easily, every other commander starts doing the math. They start calculating their own odds.
Speaking of math, let's look at the next target on the map. Sunzhen-Guan. The commander there is Li Taigong. He hears about what happened, and he doesn't even bother putting on his helmet.
He completely folds. He refers to the Song army as divine troops, implying they can't be stopped by mortals. He grabs his sons and just flees before a single arrow is fired. That is the psychological ROI of the previous victory. Hu Yanzan doesn't even have to fight. His reputation is doing the work for him.
But then we get to a city called Jiangsu, and this is where the text gets really interesting for me, because we see a different kind of surrender. It's not panic like Li Taigong, it's cold, hard logic.
Yes, this is the story of the defender Zhang Gongjin and his subordinate, Liu Bing. Zhang is panicking, acting very much like the previous commanders. He's terrified.
Right.
But Liu Bing steps up and basically conducts a risk assessment meeting right there in the command center.
He uses a phrase that sounds incredibly modern. He says, those who calculate more win, those who calculate less lose.
It's a direct reference to Sun Tzu. He is invoking game theory in the 10th century. His argument is purely rational, he says. Look, the Song army is like a mountain crashing down. They took the heavily fortified passes with ease.
Okay.
Our city, Jiangsu, has low walls. If the strong passes couldn't hold, our low walls are statistically guaranteed to fail.
So he's taking all the emotion out of it. He's just saying fighting isn't brave, it's mathematically incorrect.
Exactly. He argues, how can we resist? Surrender is the only way to save the populace. He reframes surrender not as cowardice, but as a humanitarian necessity. He's saving the city by refusing to fight a battle he knows he can't win.
And the boss, Zhang Gongjin, He listens. They open the gates. And here's the kicker. When the Song Emperor Taizong enters, he doesn't punish them for being enemies.
No, he rewards them. He praises them as men who know the times.
Know the times.
That's a very Confucian compliment. It means they understand the flow of history, the mandate of heaven, and they know when to align with it rather than being crushed by it. It reinforces that idea we started with. Survival is about knowing which tree to roost in.
So the Song are rolling. They're taking cities, they're taking passes, they're winning the psychological war. The Northern Han Kingdom, the target of all this, is on the ropes.
The king of Northern Han, Liu Yun, is in full panic mode. His territory is shrinking by the hour. He calls a desperate council, and his advisor, Ding Yi, lays it out straight. He says, "We cannot win this alone."
So they decide to call in the big guns. Ding Yi suggests begging the Liao dynasty for help. And this is where the scope of our story just explodes.
Right.
We're moving from a regional civil war to a clash of superpowers.
The Liao dynasty, also known as the Khitan Empire, was a massive power to the north. Bringing them in is a huge escalation. It's like a local militia calling in a nuclear power for backup.
So the Northern Han envoy goes to the Liao court.
Yeah.
He meets with Empress Dowager Xiao, who, by the way, is a fascinating historical figure in her own right, and asks for troops. But I have to ask, why would the Liao care? Why spend money and blood to save this crumbling Northern Han kingdom?
Well, this is where the Liao left minister, Xiao Tianyu, makes a brilliant geopolitical argument. He uses the idiom of lips and teeth.
Lips and teeth. It's evocative, but break down what that actually means in a military context.
The saying is, if the lips are gone, the teeth get cold. It describes an interdependent relationship. The Northern Han territory acts as a buffer zone, the lips protecting the Liao border. If the Song conquer the Northern Han, that buffer is gone. The Song army will be right on the Liao's doorstep.
I see.
So Xiao Tianyu argues that they aren't helping out of charity. They're helping out of self-preservation.
That makes total sense. You fight the war in your neighbor's yard so you don't have to fight it in your own living room.
Exactly. So the Empress agrees. She dispatches a massive force, 20,000 troops.
Wow.
But here is where the leadership structure gets messy. And this is a lesson for any organization, ancient or modern. She appoints a military commander, Yelu Shah, who is experienced.
Okay.
But she also appoints a supervisor, Prince Dulai.
Oh, no. Supervisor. Whenever you have a political appointee looking over the shoulder of the actual expert, things usually go sideways.
Especially when that supervisor is royalty and has more rank than the general. It creates a fractured chain of command before they even leave the capital.
So this massive Liao army arrives at a place called White Horse Ridge. The Song Emperor is initially furious that the Liao have intervened, but his general, Guo Jin, keeps a cool head. He suggests a preemptive strike while the Liao are still getting settled.
Right. The Song army moves to attack. Now, you have to visualize the terrain here. You have a body of water, a mountain stream or river separating the two armies. The Song army is approaching from one side.
And the Liao are on the other.
Correct. And this is where the command dispute happens in the Liao camp. And folks, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this moment. This is where the battle is decided before a single sword is swung.
Okay.
Yelu Shah, the actual military commander, proposes a very prudent classic strategy. He says, let's wait.
Wait for what?
He wants to wait for the Song army to start crossing the water. He suggests attacking when they are halfway across.
That sounds familiar. That's Sun Tzu 101, isn't it?
It is textbook. If you attack when the enemy is split half on the bank, half wading through the water, they're disorganized, they can't retreat, they can't form a shield wall, and they are bogged down in mud. It's a kill zone.
As an ambush.
It's a perfect ambush. Yelu Shah knows exactly how to win this effortlessly. It's what we call a force multiplier.
But then, Prince Dulai pipes up.
The prince completely rejects the plan. And his reasoning is just, it's infuriating. He says, no, if we let them cross, our own troops might get scared seeing how many of them there are.
Wait, his concern is that seeing the enemy will scare his soldiers. That sounds incredibly insecure.
It's deeply insecure. But he masks it as bravado. He argues that they should cross the water themselves to meet the Song head-on.
No.
He thinks that looks braver. He says, we should go over there and crush them before they even get wet.
So he wants to voluntarily give up the high ground, give up the defensive advantage of the river, and wade his own troops into the water just to look tough.
Essentially, yes. He is prioritizing optics and ego over tactical advantage. He thinks sitting back and waiting looks weak, whereas charging forward looks strong. He completely misunderstands the nature of strength in warfare.
And because he's a prince, the actual general, Yelu Shah, he can't stop him.
Rank overrides expertise. It's the hip-heo effect. The highest paid person's opinion wins. Li orders the troops to cross the water.
Which means they're walking right into the Song strategy.
They are doing exactly what the Song General Guo Jin wants them to do. They are abandoning the natural barrier and entering the water. They are putting themselves in the exact position Yilu Shah wanted to put the enemy in.
It's a disaster waiting to happen. And that is where we leave the story for today.